the last question we have. It's about trust and accountability. Um, I this one's paramount for me. Um, I'll do anything for you. I'll walk through fire with you. I'll jump off. Literally, like we'll go do anything together if I trust you. And I tell people that I work with and for, like, man, don't burn me. I got you.
Yeah.
And I won't. And that's where I sit. Number one for me is trust. So you've lived and died, like, metaphorically, with morals around this, right? With based on what you've had to do and the trainings that you've gone through and some of the work that you've done. Trust and accountability are integral, excuse me, to effective leadership, from what I believe. Based on what you've done, your experience, your expertise, what strategies do you recommend to leaders that are going to watch this? How do you recommend that they foster that culture to maintain what I believe, and I assume and presume that these are values that are paramount to you as well.
Yeah, I think, I kind of touched on it a little bit, but I think, trust and accountability are, I mean, they're essential. I mean, it is really important and they're essential for effective leadership. I mean, I think, again, leading by example, right? Basically saying what you're going to do and doing what you're going to, that you said you were going to do is extremely important because as leaders, all eyes are on us. The reality is, and I don't care what organization you're in, for some reason, because all people have an inherent sin nature, they're always going to look for the chinks in the armor. So you have to be extremely transparent, you have to be extremely honest, and you have to be reliable in your actions and your decisions, right? So I think when we talk about trust and accountability, trust takes a very long time to build, but it can be broken in seconds. And so as leaders, we have to be very, very mindful of that. So for us, if we're doing anything within NSW or within any organization, right, we set clear expectations and we hold individuals accountable, right? We make sure that they own what they do. Not only do they have a sense of ownership, but they own it. And it's like, whatever happens, good or bad, you own it. So if you're in an organization and you're running a project or you're doing something and your team is there with you, you make a mistake, but then you go into the boss's office and you're like, oh man, my team messed this up. You have just lost all credibility and trust within that team. But if you
Yep.
walk in there and you say, hey, that was on me, we learned from this, we're going to go back as a team, we're going to collaborate, we're going to fix this. Not only did you just build credibility with your boss, but you also credibility with your team because you didn't throw them under the bus, right? So I always say that that's important. The other aspect I want to say too is when you do great things, you have to make sure that those moments are really celebrated, right? Because I think in a lot of organizations, we always hound on the things that we did wrong, and we tend to forget about how incredible the things that you did, right? So you may say you're out there and your project or you're doing this incredible mission, you get the guy, or you fulfill your obligation in this project, and then you get back and then they're like, oh, well, you could have done this better and da 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 da, and that's all they say, and you're like, man. Or, hey, great job, but by the way, you did all of these things wrong, and you're like, okay, man, hey, we had to be adaptable. Things happen, things get thrown at us, so it's always important to celebrate those achievements. And I think when you do that, that also builds that trust and accountability, right? And I think it also, when people have that, it's a positive work environment, which I think is important. And I think you get that through consistent leadership behaviors, and that, all of you are committed not only to the organization, to the goal, but also to shared values.
Yeah, I completely agree. Um, I'm I'm learning this one because I extend it to people, maybe prematurely, and this is a fault of mine. Where I start from, man, I'm going to give you implicit trust because I'm an optimist at heart, and I want to say I just believe you, and this is where we're going to start until you prove me wrong. And I've actually had a couple times where it's burnt me pretty hard, and
Yeah.
and it hurts when it happens because you want to believe that everything is with a positive intent, and it when you put yourself out there like that, and you have these moments of authenticity that an intent, and it just doesn't work that way. Boy, does it sting.
Yeah,
And
but I also think, for a leader, we cannot dictate what an individual is going to do. All we
yeah,
can do as leaders is say, okay, well, that individual is not a trustworthy person. I'm going to still engage with that individual. I'm just going to be a little bit more on guard until he proves that he's a trustworthy individual. And just kind of like I said a little bit earlier, man, all men, women, we all come from sin nature, man. We're going to make mistakes.
yep,
You know, some of them are going to be, I did it intentionally, and some of them are going to be, by accident. But if we don't get that explanation, we don't have those discussions, then we're always going to take it as, okay, hey, they did that deliberately. So for
yep,
me as a leader, like if I felt somebody rubbed me the wrong way, I would go and have a discussion with them, because I think sometimes there's what I like to call human factors. And the human factors are everything that's outside of your work life, or, the business world, that sometimes people just aren't comfortable sharing. So I had a guy, that worked for me. He was going through a really hard time, and I didn't really understand why, but it was because his wife was sick.
oh
And
no,
so, but I didn't at the time, that's why as soon as I saw something, I was like, hey man, like, that's not like him. Let's go talk to him. And we went and had a long conversation with him. We found that out. We got him everything that he needed, what he required. Did he break a little bit of a trust? Yeah, but there was a reason for that. And so I think, again, knowing your people, having those discussions and having those conversations, because the reality is the only person that can forgive somebody that has broken our trust is us.
yeah, that's true. Because otherwise, it's this intrinsic thing that you can't see,
Hmm. And
right?
if we hold a grudge, that's on us. I mean, that's why forgiveness is so important. So we can only do what we can do. Either A, you're going to have a discussion with that individual and find out what happened, or B, you're just going to be like, nope, that guy burned me so bad, it was intentional. I'm going to stay clear from him, and I'm going to leave it at that. And I don't have anything bad. I'll pray about it. I'm pretty sure the Lord will agree with me on it. But I still forgive him for what he did, because that's important for us as leaders, man. We have to forgive, like, because if we don't forgive those things, I mean, that type of stuff can eat us alive, right? And that's
Yeah,
very problematic. I've always been just a type of person like, okay, check, forgive you, man. Let's move on,
let it
right?
go.
Yeah, you got to let it go, man. Otherwise, there's been times where when I was early on in my career, that I would stay up and be thinking like I would be pacing the halls because I wanted to talk to that guy the next day. But in my mind, I'm like, how can I rip this guy apart? And I'm like, why? That's me. That has nothing to do with him. If anything, I should go in and be a leader and sit down with this guy and really walk him through this, what happened, why did he make these decisions, what was the occurrence, were there human factors. But back then I just wanted to tear him up, and that really wasn't the way a leader should be. That was just a very young, naive, egotistical kid. But I think, as you grow up, you learn, you evolve, um, and you forgive, man.
Yeah, that's where you jump across the chasm, I'll call it, of
Hmm.
transitional from um, being mid-level to senior level, from a thought leadership to um, experiential leadership.
Yeah. Well, I think the greatest gift we've ever been given is forgiveness.
I can't disagree.
But that's on us, because we make that choice.
Yeah.
do we harbor these things, or do we forgive? But I'll tell
Yeah.
you, when I forgive, man, it takes a big weight off my back, and then I'm able to just go forward and do great things.
That's pretty profound, and I don't disagree. So forgiveness is powerful. It's hard,
Mm-hmm.
but it's powerful, and maybe we all of us need to practice it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Um, Matt, I lied to you, and I'm breaking trust right out of the gate because I have one more question.
Yeah, no worries. You know me,
Um,
man. I got time.
I know. Um, you know, this is my favorite part of this process because this is the whole reason I do it. This is the impetus of this entire platform. What can this network do to support you? How can we lift you up? How can we help share what you're doing? What can this leaders lead network do? It's growing. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
people actually watching it now. Like it went from September when I started to like, will one person watch it? To now there's legitimately thousands of people that have watched this thing. And like
It's good, man.
I'm still in awe.
Yeah, blessing, bro. Full on
I
blessing.
got thanks, man. I'm super thankful for it. And what can the people that are gonna watch this know about how they can help you, how they can support you?
Well, I think like for me, it's, if you're to look at your network, I mean, I think again, I'm gonna flip that a little bit because that's what I do. But I'll say, I think a leadership podcast that you have right now, I mean, it serves a valuable purpose, right? Because I think it really it's a good resource for leaders. You know, not only now but for the future, because you're going to have some great people on here. They're going to be giving a lot of great advice. I think in the current landscape that we live in, the more insights and strategies, and then bringing people on that have real world experience, can help. The people that are watching your podcast, navigate these challenges effectively. So I think continuing addressing contemporary leadership issues, keep equipping the leaders with the knowledge and the tools that they need by bringing on all the guests that you're bringing on, and then just keep continuing developing our leaders, man, and then ensuring that the leaders are well prepared, to tackle the future challenges not only that they have in their personal lives but in their professional lives. So that's one thing I would say, because I think that's for me. Like I'm a humble man, to be honest. So I think it's better just to lift you up. But I mean, if anything, is the VP of programs. I just all I do here, man, is I build curriculum. I write articles. I ensure that our leadership development programs are making a difference in companies. And I got books coming out. I've got speaking events that I do. I mean, and to be honest with you, man, I love my family and I love the Lord. So that's kind of like, for me, those are just great things. But I think if you were going to, really, for your viewers, I think it's always just ensure as a leader, that you're lifting your team and that you guys are moving towards a shared goal, a shared objective, a shared purpose. I think, if it's clear and concise and you're motivated as a leader, that can have a massive impact on whatever it is that your initiative, or if you want to call it a call to action or whatever you want to call it, I think that'll drive that, right? And then um, I think that's, if you're relying, it could be a specific target, fostering innovation, driving change. But I think, having a well crafted, you know, purpose or, call to action, is a powerful, powerful catalyst for success. And I think, if you communicate that to your team, you take ownership of that. I mean, I think you can make a positive difference, not only in your organization, but in the world, man.
Um, Thanks for the kind words. I To me, it's about what can we do collectively to drive impact.
Yeah,
How do we equip the next leaders? Because these types of things didn't exist for me as I was coming up in my career. Um, I didn't know who to look for advice. Mentorship wasn't easily accessible.
yeah,
I didn't know what types of voices to look for advice. I didn't know where to look for resources.
yeah,
And um, I want so this is solving a personal problem that I had coming through the ranks, but at the same time trying to help others lift them up as we do it to share it amongst the broader community to make sure that, as this community grows, they grow and introducing each other and doing the virtual handshakes for each other within our own networks of saying, "Hey man, check out this dude. He's doing awesome stuff."
yeah.
And that's what this is for me is um, wrapping our arms around each other and saying love you brother and like giving each other big
Yeah.
hugs and saying man this dude he's on point and he's doing good.
Yeah, I think what I like about it most is just having a platform where individuals can go and be like, okay, hey, here's some guys that were prior military. Here's some guys that are doing great in the business world. Here's some of the things that they did. Here's some of the tools that they utilize to help themselves to get to where they are. And it's just really it's good mentorship. It's really a place where they can come. And what I like about it is they can always go backwards and forwards and find all the little nuggets, if you will, in the discussions and the conversations. And that's a great thing about that. So I just continue what you're doing, man, and don't stop. Just I think like I said, you're what I love the name that you have. Oh, by the way, coffee was fantastic. I didn't tell you that. So, but yeah, coffee's good. I grinded it up and had a cup the other day, and I was like, whew, man, it's good stuff. But I'm not plugging you. I'm just saying it was good.
I didn't ask for a
but
plug.
yeah, I know. But it is. It's good stuff. But again, I think that um, leaders just have to pass their tacit knowledge on as well. The last thing I'll say is, there's an organization that I was working with, and the guy had 48 years, and I noticed high tenure, and everybody was going him to information. And I remember just having a discussion, and I'm like, "Hey, man, do you guys have a knowledge manager?" And they're like, "No." And I'm looking over to him, and I'm like, "So what happens when you leave?" And he's like, "Oh." And I'm like, "You have an extraordinary amount of knowledge. You need to write that down. Don't let that die with you." That's and so for me, being able to pass on the tacit knowledge that I've learned over my lifetime and to be able to hopefully help others in their journey is extremely important to me. So, for your guys and your audience out there, I hope you got a lot of great nuggets out of this. Continue to drive the needle forward and do great things, man. So the world needs great leaders.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for the plug on the coffee even though it wasn't a plug.
It's
That
a
means a
plug. It's
lot.
good. It's good. It's good coffee, man.
um, Thank you. The the knowledge capture thing. I worked with a guy named Glenn Grenier. I'll end on this story. He's brilliant. He's one of my favorite humans. He's the guy that NASA calls when they have a problem. Like
NASA.
like
Nice.
legit and um I have a tremendous amount of respect for like the knowledge that's in this guy's head and the company that he works for. Uh, they've known that they've had a problem with capturing the knowledge for years,
Yeah.
and we've told them years ago when I worked for them, like, what are we gonna do when these days come when all of these experienced tenured people have the time that they're saying like I'm done, and it's a real problem for them. But the only reason I'm bringing this up is because I created a challenge coin when I worked at that company, and I'm going to show you real quick. I don't know if it'll zoom in, but it's called it says excellence on it, and on the other side it says hashtag one team. I don't know if it's going to zoom in, but
Yeah. One team, one fight.
Yep. And he was the first person I gave it to when I worked there.
Awesome.
And the moment that we exchanged this coin when I did it, it was just a magical moment between he and I. And I pulled him in with a group of people, and I'll never forget that. That'll live with me for a really long time.
That's
But
awesome.
and yeah. Anyway, you gotta capture those moments is where I'm going with it. You gotta pay it forward. That's how we got to where we're at is from other people investing in us, and then it's our turn to continue to pay it forward and invest in others. So, with that being said,
Completely agree.
Matthew, I'm absolutely humbled to be a part of your network. Thanks for believing in me. Thanks for giving me the chance to sit down and chat with you and help share your story within my network, and be a part of your network to help share your story with your network, and as we continue to do great things together. I'd love to have you back when the book comes out fully, and let's talk about that. I'm super excited to get a copy of it. Um, I can't wait. I'm going to put it on my shelf after I read it. Um, and I'm going to plug the hell out of it because I think that's what we
Appreciate
need to
that.
do is evangelize each other. So everybody, thank you so much for clicking into Leaders Lead. I'm Zach Husted with my new esteemed friend and colleague. I'm going to call you colleague because you're a part of the elite crew of Leaders Lead now. So Matthew Lehnig, thanks for checking in. Everybody, have a great day.
Great to be here. Have a good time.